can. Just like squeeze in a little bit. Not wide. There we go. Yeah. Yeah.
Debbie, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, my knees.
All right, everybody, right here. 1, 2, 3. Let's get up real quick. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Do you want me to say something in the mic? Okay. So, whenever you guys are ready to get something. No, you can. It's 10:54, but you guys are everybody. Oh, wait.
Good morning. All right, gotta clear that throat. All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming and joining us right here in front of the White House. We are the Bring Our Families Home campaign. Our campaign launched 1 year ago right here in front of the White House because we realized that although our loved ones are wrongfully detained and held hostage abroad in different countries, including China, including Iran, Russia, Syria, the United Arab Emirates, and Venezuela, our voices are stronger together. We are gathered here in front of Lafayette Park because we have two simple asks of our president, President Biden. Although each case has its own idiosyncrasies, we all need the same thing: for President Biden to meet with us and to use all tools to bring them home.
Hello, everyone. I'm Netta Shargi of the Bring Our Families Home campaign. We're very grateful to you for being here. You know, most of you know that this is Hostage Week, and this is now our second event as a campaign. We were at the mural last night holding a vigil, and we're now here. We're very fortunate to have with us so many former hostages who are here and interested in speaking to you and supporting the remaining wrongful detainees and hostages that are being detained abroad. We're so thankful for all of you for coming and joining us today. And that's it. I'll pass it over to, the way that the day will go is we'll ask the former hostages who are interested to speak to you first. And then the families of current hostages will then speak after. Okay. Harris, can this get louder or no? Zambrano family, would you be willing to come and say a few words? Yep.
Can my family come up here?
Of course.
I'll switch with someone to the flag. Hi, guys. See you. Okay, good.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, I can be loud.
Be loud.
Very loud. Okay, I'm Alexandra Zambrano Forza, and this is my family, a lot of my family, and this is my uncle, Jose Luis Zambrano, and my dad, Illyria Jose Zambrano, and I cannot believe that we are standing right in front of the White House right now. It's a miracle. So 1 year ago, I stood right here with my brother-in-law, Mickey Hill, and we were heartbroken and desperate to meet with President Biden in hopes that I could break through the noise and ask for him to prioritize bringing my dad and uncle home after almost 4 years of wrongful detainment in Venezuela. As family member after family member shared their stories of grief and perseverance, it was easy to see what had brought us all together, our love and devotion to our innocent loved ones. Just regular people from different walks of life stood here humbly asking for the seemingly impossible because we didn't see any other choice. And for many of us, after years of trying more sophisticated advocacy strategies, we knew something different was needed to move the needle on our cases. I may not have met with the president, and our campaign letters to him may have been ignored, but I'm certain that joining together with the other families significantly shifted the national discourse regarding hostages and wrongful detainees. As proof, my dad, Illyria Jose Zambrano, and my uncle, Jose Luis Zambrano, now stand next to me as free Americans because this administration chose to do the right thing and bring them home. Because of this campaign, our fellow citizens now say, bring them home. Our legislative representatives are joining together across the aisle to introduce bills to bring them home by securing support for families, raising awareness by codifying our flag, and closing gaps in existing policy to enable quicker case resolution. I want to thank the families around me, our public supporters, and especially the media that have stood by our side and amplified our voices when no one seemed to hear us. It is because of all of you and President Biden's decision to have the moral courage to bring my family home that I stand here with my dad and uncle. President Biden, I ask you directly today, on behalf of all families still going through this nightmare, please meet with them. Please hear their stories and the obstacles they are facing with our government on the path to free their loved ones. It is the right thing to do, and it's time to build off many successes of the past year and finish the job for so many innocent Americans abroad. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jorge Toledo. I spent almost 5 years wrongly imprisoned in Venezuela, and I was one of the fortunate Americans that were released back in October 2022. I would like to start with just a brief thought. So, determination without action is just wishful thinking. So it's a combination of determination and action that is going to bring happiness to my brothers and sisters that are still imprisoned in all over the world, and all these families that have been fighting and working intensively to bring back their loved ones. We're here to support. We are here to share our thoughts, our experience back in our captivity with my brothers here that were part of my group down there. And just saying that we need to prioritize life. That means that, you know, besides any human affairs such as politics, we need to bring people home, our people. And then as a society, we can, you know, approach this global issue called hostage diplomacy, which is, in my consideration, and I think in all definitions, specifically the one in the Statute of Rome, a crime against humanity. We need to respond in a bold fashion against this. But in the short term, it's a matter of prioritized life besides or in front of any other human affair, such as politics. I want to thank President Biden for making the right decision and putting aside these affairs that I was talking about and bring me and the rest of the guys home back in October. But I also would like to kindly ask President Biden to listen to these families and talk to them. Listen to them, listen to their pain, their perspective on this global issue as is global. I want to thank also the media, because the media was fundamental for our release. All over the 5 years that we spent down in a dungeon in Venezuela, media, the involvement of media was fundamental to achieve these results. So I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart to all the members of the media. And thank you very much for coming here and support us. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jose Pereira. I'm one of the 606. As Jorge was saying, we were like almost 5 years in a dungeon in Venezuela. These type of events are so important because these type of events, the media can raise the awareness for all those that are left behind in all these foreign funds. I want to say three things that I think are very important here. The first of it is that this has become a national security issue. The way this is being handled in foreign countries that are taking U.S. Americans are targeted. The U.S. Americans are not getting in the battlefield, are getting as hostages, as wrongfully detained in a lot of foreign countries. And this practice is growing and growing and growing. And this practice must stop. It must stop. I know the administration Biden, by the way, I am very grateful by the grace of God and the administration Biden that we came back, because he really did the right thing to bring us back. If we're here, it's a miracle. But more has to be done. It's in the right direction, but more has to be done. Because if more is not done, unfortunately, this is gonna become a nightmare for more families. So, this group that today is here, maybe it's going to be bigger, and we don't want that to happen. So this has become a national security issue. I know that the U.S. government is looking at that way, but our voice is that please put it at the top of the level as a national security issue. The second thing that I want to talk is about the support of the family. Again, it's been a little bit better, and there is some amendment that I know they're going on, the Levinson Act, but this has to be approved soon, and it has to be psychological, logistical, and financial support for the family. This is so important. You cannot imagine. I will put you in the moment to think what will happen to your life if one of your loved ones goes through this. I can tell you, your life becomes a totally nightmare, That means that everybody that's caught not only is in jail, the family comes in a jail. They become in not a physical jail. It's like a permanent jail. So I remember my kids, they told me that they were invited to a party, they didn't want to go. They were invited to a beach, they didn't want to go. They were invited to take a lunch, they didn't want to go. My wife that is here was invited to a movie, that we love the movies, she didn't want to go. Because they feel guilty, we were there. So this is something that has to stop. And the family not only deserve that, logistical. Every time they had to come here to the DC or go to whatever or seek the media, it's so important that your attention. But this has to be something more supported from the government. The foundation are doing so great. I can tell you, the Center Richardson, the Foley Foundation, the Hostel USA, Hospital Aid Worldwide. There are a lot of foundations doing a lot. When I say a lot, it's a lot. But they have to do more because they have to be asking for donations. They have to be doing rallies and stuff to get donations. So why the government doesn't do more? The people deserve it. And when you come back, I heard one of the guys 2 days ago that he was telling me that when he come back, he felt that he was better there than here because his life here was a nightmare. So that support is needed. And the third thing that I want to say here is the government has to have the moral courage to step behind and leave the politics. This is not a politics. These are real people. These are people that deserve to come back. So my point here is all the government, all the senators, all the congressmen had to leave beside the politics and had to do the right thing and had to use all the tools available and bring the people back home. All these people deserve it. I am approved that we came back and my family is enjoying it. I have Neda right here. She's a champion. She has done, I don't know why you had to do else to bring him out. So why the people had to do that? So the other thing is the support of the media. It's so important that your support. So please keep doing it. Keep raising awareness. Keep helping the families. I'm proud to be part of this family. I always say this is a family that you never wanted to be, but at the end you became it. But I'm proud to be. I'm so proud to be part of this family because now we are together. We share things. We share stories. And I always are telling them that never lose hope, never give up, and never lose the faith because it happens. The miracles happen and God never leaves you down. So again, do what the government has to do, whatever has to be done to bring the people back. This is so important that the message get. And come on, receive the families. They're on walking distance. Receive them. Receive the families. Tell them, we know they're doing things, but it's a 2 minutes. 2 minutes to say, hey, I'm doing the best. And it will be okay for the families. This event, this 2 days, 3 days event, there is a marathon, a hospital week, has been so infused of energy, right? At the same time, pain, because we have been hearing stories of pain. But it's an energy because the family are together, and they're doing the right thing. They're stick together, they're doing things together, and it's only one voice. Well, this is part of my message. I want to repeat the 3 points. National security issue, support to the family, and leave beside the politics and do the right thing and bring the family. Thank you very much.
All right, and next up is Joey Reed. Oh, Paula Reed. The Reed family. All right, hi. For those of y'all who don't know me, I'm Paula Reed. I'm Trevor Reed's mom. Trevor was freed last year on April 27th. So he's been home with us for just a little over a year, and obviously we have President Biden to thank for that and making that decision. But also we want to thank everyone who helped support us and everything, and the media especially, because y'all helped carry the story out there. Y'all helped carry the stories out there and make everyone aware of the situation. I think we kind of got lucky. There's a lot of things that play into getting Trevor home. But one of the things I will say to the families who are still waiting for their day of reconciliation is don't stop. Just keep pushing as hard as you can. And sometimes they may tell you to be quiet, that's not nice or whatever, but push anyway. Because that's your loved one, and they're just wasting their life away. And to me, that was the hardest thing to deal with, was the fact that I knew Trevor was just sitting there wasting his life. So we're glad to be part of this community. Even though Trevor is home, we're going to continue every way that we can to help others. And if there's any families out there who would like to call us and reach out to us for support, we're happy to do that. So thank you all, media, for being here and helping spread the word.
I'd like to say something real quick. In particular, John Franks, Mr. Bergman, Governor Richardson, the ski hall's office. Can I just talk like this?
No.
No? Okay, all right. So, we'd like to thank the Secretary of State.
No, close.
We'd like to thank the Secretary of State and of course the President. We'd also like to thank all the members of Congress. In our case, we had bipartisan support. We have 57 co-sponsors on a resolution from both sides of the aisle in both houses of Congress. That's what we need. This is the one issue that Congress should be united on, and we need to join together in these things. We need to bring Americans home. While we have prisoners in our prisons that we gathered up around the world for crimes against the state, they're living in country clubs in our country's prisons. And then they're taking innocent Americans for the simple fact that they're Americans, and it's the only way they can get their people back. And they're living in squalor and on the verge of dying, and these families are living, by a thread every minute of every day, while our government goes through all of these political issues. Politics is what keeps our presidents from bringing our people home. They're afraid that they'll be pushed back from the other party. We need to stop this. We need to start bringing our people home. If it means training prisoners that are in our wonderful prisons, probably some of them, it's a better life than they have back home. We need to get them out of here and get our people back, whatever it takes to bring our people home. But we want to thank President Biden, and he needs to meet with these families, and at the very least, call them. When he called us, it meant everything to us. I mean, it gave us a complete new perspective and ability to hang in there until he brought our son home. And he's doing a great job. He's brought a lot of Americans home, and we want him to quadruple that. We want him to bring as many people home as he can as soon as possible. Thank you.
Is this better? It is better? Yeah? Okay. I'd like to ask Bob, please, to come. Bob advised Jeff Woodkey's family, and we are very happy to have Jeff home as well.
Let's go. How's this? Yes. Is this okay? All right. So, Jeff would be here today. He was released 41 days ago after 6.5 years held by an Al-Qaeda cell in West Africa. He was chained almost every day those 6.5 years. He was beaten regularly for those 6.5 years. And yet he is home, free, and well today. And that's due in large part to the efforts of many people. Jeff asked me to publicly thank Roger Carson, the Speedhouse, Secretary of State Blinken, and President Biden for their efforts. But I want to say to all of you folks, he got out after 6.5 years of death. There's always hope. Keep working, never give up. And then we're in Washington. We're surrounded by America. But Jeff left behind 7 other hostages held by the same group who aren't Americans. Some are from large countries, some are once from Romania. There's no one working on their behalf. And Jeff is just committing himself to try to find a way to get those people home. And the media can help there as well. So to the media as well, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, and finally, from the former hostages, we're going to introduce Trudy to speak on behalf of Matthew Heath.
My name is Trudy Rutherford. Matthew John Heath is my nephew. Matthew was wrongfully detained under horrible conditions by the Maduro regime in Venezuela for more than 2 years. We are lucky. Through efforts of our government and numerous others, Matthew is home and safe. But look around you. Other families here today are not so lucky. Their family members continue to be wrongfully detained, held hostage, generally under brutal conditions by the foreign governments and actors. They have been reduced to simple, inhuman bargaining chips for the purpose of extracting concessions of various kinds from our U.S. government. While it is true that we have seen a good number of American hostages and wrongful detainees brought home through the efforts of our government and assisting parties, that is not enough. So long as even one American is held hostage or wrongfully detained by a rogue element of our global community, that is one too many. As was done for Matthew and others, I would encourage our government to do the right thing and act swiftly, decisively, and with all tools available to bring Americans home from wherever they are being unjustly held. President Biden, ultimately, the recovery of our fellow Americans rests in your hands. By deploying the governmental resources available to you to bring our people home, I would additionally encourage you to talk to each and every hostage and wrongful detainee family. Why each one? Because each case and each family is different. But more importantly, you need to demonstrate that all detained individuals and their families are important and deserving of your attention. We all understand that some situations are difficult, but Theodore Roosevelt said, "Nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, difficulty." Mr. President, feel the pain, work past the difficulties, put in the effort, and continue to bring our people home. Thank you.
Well, you just heard all the success stories, and I want everyone to bask in the glory of that, and I hope next year we're gathered here with a larger crowd of former hostages. We'd now like to transition so that you can hear from families who are currently fighting hard to bring their loved ones home. Families, when you come up to speak, please introduce yourselves and your loved one and where they're being held for the media. But before we do that, is Diane Foley here? No? She's on her way. She's on her way, okay. Diane was kind enough to offer to speak a few words today, so we will wait for her to come. But we'll keep going with the program.
My name is Aida Dada. I'm Zach Shaheen. Start again. Hello? Yes. Okay. My name is Aida Dada. I'm Zach Shaheen's sister-in-law. To my right is Zach Shaheen's wife and his son Rami and Rami's fiancée Lucia next to him. Zach, as you see on the sign, is the longest serving prisoner American citizen overseas. And guess what? In an allied country, the United Arab Emirates. Is this the reason he's there? Yes. We tried all possible ways. We have the United Nations ruling from Geneva, Switzerland, that he is wrongfully detained, that he has been kidnapped, tortured, and wrongfully imprisoned. He was kidnapped twice. Once in Sana'a in Yemen, as he was boarding a flight to the United States. The UAE government officials, together with Emirates Airlines, put him there on the flight, wrongfully, in a different flight, just 30 minutes before his flight, and kidnapped him back to Dubai without any extradition papers. It's all documented in the United Nations, and we've got it back, and we've got it electronically as well as in hard copy, all documented, 17 pages from the United Nations. And guess what? We submitted that to the State Department. And not only us. I have to thank Senator Ted Cruz. He sent a very tough letter of support to the State Department directly, asking them to help release Zach. We also had the support of Mickey Bergman and Governor Richardson's group. We also had some U.S. representatives from Texas because Zach is a resident of Houston. I know that Governor Abbott as well tried to help him. There were, the representatives were Fallon, Weber, and Mills. All wrote letters to the State Department. And guess what? The State Department are deaf. They did nothing. Especially that we told them he's a sick man. And we got reports from the Dubai hospital. He has been there for the last 4 months. They're leaving him to die. We don't want letters of sympathy when he dies. We don't want him in a box. We want him back here to be treated in the U.S. He's got all sorts of diseases, heart, pulmonary, endocrinology, digestive, you name it. He was a very healthy 43-year-old man, and they just arrested him in a meeting without any introduction. And you may have lots of questions. We can answer to that. What was his charge? He did not kill anybody. He was a great, successful CEO. He worked for PepsiCo in the US, and they sent him to Dubai. Then he was hunted for a real estate company, which he ran very professionally. And guess what? They said that he embezzled or forged documents. The big four auditing firms had very clean statements at the end of every year he was there. There was no disclosure, no provisions, no notes, all clean, signed off by those big four. So were these big four auditing firms wrong? Or did they conspire with Zach to issue false statements? Or was the Dubai court wrong? You judge. All this is documented in the UN report, 17 pages, detailed. And we have an executive summary in 1 page. And still, we contact the State Department over and over. We submitted 11 submissions so that he is wrongfully detained. Human Rights Watch, besides the UN, labeled him wrongfully detained. Foley Foundation also labeled him wrongly detained. And the State Department, deaf ears. Are they deaf? I don't know. I mean, yes, we talk to them. We talk. And they just read from a paper. Yes, no, we have not labeled him wrongly detained. We keep reviewing. If you have something new, tell us. That's exactly what they tell us. We need the help. We need the support. I mean, what else can we do? We joined this group hoping that our voices will be heard. But you know what? The government doesn't hear our voices. We need the media. I mean, somebody else said so. The key is the media. Please let our voice be heard. We don't want our loved one coming in a box and he's really sick. When we brought it to the media that he's sick and we need to bring him back after 4 months, they recently released him to jail and they're sending him every day, chained, you know, for day trips to the hospital. And they're not treating him well. They're waiting to kill him. He's been tried as a government employee, although he is a private company employee. And what's the difference? As a private company, even if he was guilty of all charges, he will be sentenced to 8 years. We got an official document, the lawyers got an official document from the legal department of Dubai Rulers Court that this company he ran was a private company. Documented, all with us. We can show it. And guess what? The judge ignored that. He said, no, he's a government employee. And as a government employee, they have the freedom to sentence him as much as he wants. So he's serving a life sentence over there. He spent 15 years over there. Can you imagine how much is it? 5,500 days? And he's very sick. You can imagine being in prison for so long. He's 58 years old now, and he's almost on his deathbed. I'm sorry to say that in front of my sister, his wife, and his son. But that is the absolute truth. And not only him is in jail, his family is all in jail, you know. Day and night we try. This lady, my sister, raised 2 children who were 10 and 15 years old for 15 years all by herself. What we need here is just the media. We're begging for the media to bring our voice to the White House. President Biden, we're appealing to him. Secretary Blinken, why is the State Department silent? What can we do to bring him home before he dies? Because he is on his deathbed. He's honestly on his deathbed. We're not just saying it, and we have reports from their own hospital like that. We are appealing as well to the President of the UAE, His Royal Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. We know he's an honorable man. He probably hasn't heard of the injustice that's being done. We're also appealing to the Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE, ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. I personally went to the UAE embassy. They wouldn't let me in. I waited outside for hours and submitted a mercy letter that our man is dying. Do something about it. We never heard back. We submitted dozens of mercy letters probably over the years through the State Department. We never even heard back apology or what response from the UAE. What is going on? If he was in another country, which is an enemy to us, the United Nations will be considered by the State Department. But because Dubai and the UAE in general is an ally, they give a deaf ear. They're doing some trade contracts. They prefer to do business rather than save an American life. What else can we say? Did I tell my story?
Yeah.
Oh.
And Harrison now will read a written statement on behalf of Paul Whelan's family.
Hello again. I'm Harrison Lee, son of Kai Lee, wrongfully detained in China since 2016, but I'll be back up to talk for my death. But right now I'm here because Elizabeth Whelan, sister of Paul Whelan, left behind in Russia, could not make it here today, although she's made more than her fair share of trips to D.C. And so I'm reading this statement upon her behalf. Paul Whelan has been held hostage in Russia for 4.5 years. Russia has become blatant in its use of our citizens as bargaining chips, arresting Americans on ridiculous charges and then expecting the U.S. to pay whatever price they set. It is time to confront those countries conducting hostage diplomacy head-on by in-your-face use of any leverage we have at our disposal. We must not hold back. And this must be a global action. 69 countries plus the European Union have signed Canada's declaration against arbitrary detention. Many citizens of those countries are also being wrongfully held around the world at this very minute. Each and every one of those countries must work together to coordinate any and all deterrents possible to bring hostage diplomacy to an end and to free all of our people. And now it is time for everyone, the families, the hostages, our representatives and government, not just them, but everyone, to stand up, to speak out, confront, and hold these bad actors to account. And to Russia, I say, free Paul Whelan. Now I'll turn it over to the families whose loved ones are still being wrongfully held in Iran.
Hi, I'm Hannah Shargi. My dad, Ahmad Shargi, has been wrongfully detained in Iran for the past 5 years. I will keep it brief. We have asked for a meeting with the president for so long now that I frankly don't know how else to ask or what else to say. But please, President Biden, meet with us. We are DC residents. My dad raised us here in this beautiful city. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in the fight that we forget that these people are people. My dad is a dad, a son, an uncle, a friend, and a brother. And right now he's had that all taken away from him. Right now all he is a pawn that is being used in a game that is not his to play. So please, President Biden, bring my dad home so he is able to be my dad again. He's an innocent American. He deserves to be here, standing behind me, fighting the fight for all the families. Please do what you can. Use every tool on the table to bring my dad home from Iran, back to Washington, D.C., where he belongs. Thank you all so much for being here today. Keep supporting us. Keep fighting this fight. Thank you.
I would like to first thank the Bring Our Families Home campaign for creating this unique family for all of us that are living this nightmare. It's a large part of the contribution and advocacy of this campaign, along with the Foley Foundation, that's helped bring home so many hostages this past year. I would also like to thank all of the wrongful detainees who are now home with us and standing by our side to help us till our loved ones are home as well. Seeing all of you here today helps our family hold on to hope and keep fighting till the end. We'll more than anybody know how much every single day matters. My name is Tara Tabaz, and I'm the daughter of Murat Tabaz, who's been wrongfully detained in Iran since January 2018, along with my mother, Vida Tabaz, who's been there on a travel ban as well. The single most important element for a wrongful detainee to be able to survive this nightmare is to have hope. But how can they have hope when they continuously keep hearing that they're a top priority, but no actions have been taken? They need to be reassured that their names are known and that their country is coming to get them. The biggest fear for a hostage is being left behind. And the biggest fear for a hostage family is that it will be too late. My father is now 67. He has a history of cancer and has been hospitalized multiple times while incarcerated. I most recently traveled to Madrid to see my father's entire family, including my grandmother, his mother, who's now 94, with the same wish for 6 years to see her son again. President Biden just shared this past weekend how deep the pain runs when you have an empty seat at your table. I can't tell you the distress of not only having one seat empty at the table, but having two. And again, for the 6th time, I will have two for Mother's Day this year. The easiest first step to give these hostages hope is that President Biden took time to meet with their families, to hear our stories firsthand. He is a man of empathy and compassion, and we have seen him have the courage to make the difficult decisions to bring hostages home. And we are hoping that he will do the same for us. The administration has a proven track record of being successful, but we hope that they do it before it's too late. I'm not a policymaker or policy expert, but what I know is that my father, Murad Tabaz, my mother, Vida Tabaz, Ahmad Shari, Siamak Namazi, who are all hostages in Iran, have been suffering for far too long. What I do know is that while they are not celebrities or associated institutions, they're no less American, they're no less innocent, and their lives are of no less value. They equally have families behind them that are suffering day in, day out, and we need to prioritize their lives over the political optics. This is a humanitarian issue, and the longer we keep waiting, the more challenging it is and the more their lives are at risk. Our loved ones have been taken solely for holding a blue passport and for being American, and they should be afforded the protection of their country. There is nothing more American than bringing home our own, and it is never wrong to bring America. The members of Congress and the American people, we are pleading with you to stand with us and behind President Biden to make the decisions that are needed to bring our loved ones home. The members of the media here today, thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts, and we beg you to continue to stand with us, amplify our voices, and help bring my father, my mother, Siamak, Ahmad, as well as everybody's family members here home, and give their freedom, their life, and their liberty back. President Biden, the lives of these innocent Americans, of my parents, rest in your hands. You ultimately have the decision and the power to bring them home, and we are begging you to use those tools now before it's too late. We know you have the political courage. I also just wanted to speak on behalf of Babak Namazi, who is the brother of Siamak Namazi, wrongfully detained in Iran since 2015. From Babak, his brother. When my father, Bakir Namazi, was finally permitted to leave Iran last October, my family and I were thrilled. We allowed ourselves to hope again that my brother Siamak would be freed shortly. But after months of silence from President Biden and the lack of progress in freeing Ahmad, Murad, and Siamak, the hope is leading to nothing. My family is at a loss. Siamak has put his life on the line through hunger strikes in a public and brave appeal from inside of Evin prison. My 86-year-old father privately sent a letter to President Biden requesting a meeting to discuss his son's ongoing plight and his own suffering in the hands of the Iranian regime. It is inconceivable that not only have we not been granted a meeting, but that both the pleas have gone unanswered. My family, especially Siamak, is growing increasingly desperate. What will it take to finally get the president's attention, to convince him to be brave enough to make the necessary decisions to bring our loved ones home?
And I'd now like to introduce Nahid Dalili, whose husband Shahab has been detained wrongfully in Iran since 2016.
Thank you. My name is Nahid Dalili, and thank you for this opportunity to talk about Shahab. Shahab is my husband. He has been detained wrongfully in Iran since April 2016, and it is now more than 7 years he is in Evin jail. Shahab is a green card holder, and his family are all citizens. When Shahab was wrongfully detained, it was 1 year after we immigrated to US, So if he was here, he was a citizen now. When President Biden and his administration are talking about the hostages in Iran, they never mention Shahab's name because he's not a citizen. But according to the Bob Levinson Act, he can have the rights of Americans and he needs the support of U.S. government. I want to ask for help from President Biden and his administration. Do not leave Shahab behind when they are working and negotiating about the other hostages wrongfully detained in Iran. They are not only in the prison, but they are in danger too, because the situation in Iran is not stable and always, every day, they make new decisions for the people who are wrongfully detained in prison. I want to ask all the media, please remember and name Shahab's name as a hostage in Iran. And when they say there are 3 hostages and name them, please mention them. There are more than 1, more than 3, and a family are waiting for his dad, his husband, and we need Shahab come back home. I want to ask President Biden and administration to use everything they have in their hand to bring Shahab home. Thank you.
And now I would like to call forward the family of Avon Hernandez.
Thank you everyone for being here. My name is Henry Martinez, and I'm Avon Hernandez's brother who's been held in Venezuela for 13 months. He is a public defender who's dedicated his life serving marginalized people. And I want to say thank you to the coalition, because without their support, I'd be abandoned. President Biden, we need you to act swiftly. We need you to hear our voice. We need you to meet with us. It's been extremely difficult for families, including mine, my mother, my father. Their mental state is dwindling. Our brother's state is dwindling. As you can see it in these people's faces, the sadness that we're going through. We need you to act. Thank you.
And thank you, Henry. My name is Drew Havens. I'm a friend and advocate of Avon Hernandez. Avon is a mentor to me. He helped train me as a public defender. He taught me what it means to fight for justice. And that's what we're here today for, to fight for justice and to beg the president and the administration to take the necessary action to bring Avon home. And I want to thank the former hostages and wrongful detainees who are here today with us. They've already been in the fight of their life, and they've run that marathon of getting home to the United States, and they're still here fighting with us. And that gives me so much hope that even after everything that they've been through, they're still with us outside the White House, making a collective ask and demand of the president to meet with us. We want to meet with you. We want to tell you the story of our loved ones. We want to tell you about Avon, who's been a public servant his entire life, who is deeply missed by the Los Angeles community. We need him home. President Biden, bring Avon home.
Bring everybody home.
Jarrell Kennemore's family was not able to come and join us today. His family has sent a statement to read on his behalf. wrongfully detained in Venezuela. From his family. Our family waits for Jarrell Kennemore, wrongly detained in Venezuela. But we want to thank all of you in the Bring Our Families Home campaign for all the hard work each of you do to advocate for all of our loved ones caught up in hostage diplomacy. Our hearts and prayers are with all of them waiting for release, and with all of you here today. And every day, we all share this experience in our lives together. If Jarrell's family is watching this on the live stream, we are doing everything we can to advocate for Jarrell, and you are in our hearts and prayers all the time. Now I will call forward the families who are being detained in China.
Hello again. So this is my father, Kai Li, wrongfully detained in China since 2016. And, you know, fighting for him, fighting for the Americans detained around the world is a non-stop pressure campaign. And it's really, really hard sometimes to find the time to stop. But I will take a moment to do that and thank all of the support of everyone who's here. First and foremost, the media for covering our stories, and the people in the government, the State Department, the Speaker's office, the White House, members of Congress who have supported us. And, you know, I'd like to start also in particular by reading a statement from my father's senator, Senator Schumer, who wanted to join us but could not make it to a last-minute conflict. But here's what he has to say. We must continue to stand up for Americans being arbitrarily detained and wrongfully imprisoned in China and in other nations around the world. Kai Li's release must be prioritized, and every effort must be made to secure his freedom and safe return to the United States. And it is long past due for Kai Li to be reunited with his family in Long Island. Thank you. Now, you know, we appreciate all the support and all these words, but, you know, appreciation and gratitude is not going to bring my dad home. It's not going to bring those wrongfully detained in China home. Look, these China cases, they're not new. They didn't just happen. The government has had many, many times across at least 3 administrations to bring us home. And, you know, the current administration, they brought home Americans from many, many countries around the world that you've heard from. But noticeably missing from that list is China. And we hear all these excuses from the government, oh, you know, China is hard, right? And yes, there are unique challenges associated with that. But I just want to close with this. If we can get Trevor Reed and Brittany Griner out of Russia during a war with Ukraine, and we can figure out how to get Kai Li, David Lin, and Mark Swadan home out of China. So, you know, there's really no excuse. We're sick and tired of hearing excuses, sick and tired of hearing that our loved ones are the government's highest priority when, you know, my dad has been sitting in a jail in a cramped cell with 10 to 12 other prisoners, no climate control, for 6.5 years. And, you know, it's just not right. And it just, you know, we're not gonna rest. We're not gonna stop until our loved ones are home. So, you know, that's all I have to say. And now I'm gonna pass it over to Alice, who's the daughter of David Lin and has the unenviable distinction of being the case that's been the longest in our campaign. Thank you.
Yes. Hi everyone, I'm Alice Lin. This is my father, David Lin. My father has been wrongfully detained in China for over 16 years. He's the longest held American overseas. He's missed so much of life already. I'm here today to tell a story so that he's not forgotten. I'm here today to tell a story so he's not forgotten and left behind. He's already missed so much of life already. He missed my graduation. He missed walking me down the aisle. He missed the birth of his first grandchild, my son. My son is 7 years old now, and he asked me, Mama, why has everyone met their grandfather, but I haven't? Why have I never seen him? I don't know what to answer him. President Biden, we need your help to bring him home. Please meet with all of us and use every tool you can to bring all of our loved ones home. Thank you. We're going to go back to families whose loved ones have been wrongfully detained in Venezuela and ask the families of Luke Denman and Aaron Berry to come up, if I'd like.
Hi, my name is Mark Denman. I'm the brother of Luke Denman, and I am here on exactly the 3-year anniversary of his being captured. 3 years ago today, at about 8 a.m., I knew something went wrong for my brother, and should I start back? So 3 years ago today, at about 8 a.m., I was sifting through news as it came live through Twitter to try to find out if my brother was still alive, what had happened. I knew something had happened in Venezuela with him, and I didn't know what. The first images I saw were of body bags piled in the back of a truck. I knew I was going to have to break this news to my parents, his parents. I did not know how I was going to do that. I needed to find out whether I needed to tell them that their son was dead or that he was captured. I keep digging through photos, and eventually I found a photo of several men hogtied on the ground, and in that photo I could see his arm. I recognized the tattoo there, and I knew at least he was alive for the moment. I didn't know what was next. Is he going to be executed live on TV? What's going to happen? Venezuela was claiming they had just stopped a U.S. invasion. I had enough information. I let my parents know. It's been 3 years since that day, and we have been trying to figure out what exactly went on and trying to get him home. Our current challenge is interestingly, in spite of the State Department's own legal proof, their own records about Venezuela, in spite of the fact that Maduro is a wanted narco-terrorist by the Department of Justice, somehow he can lawfully detain these two Americans. We've been recognized as wrongfully detained by the Foley Foundation and many other NGOs, but it seems that politics are standing in the way. There's a political thing going on there, and so here we are. Every day, Venezuela is still working to actively trade Luke and Aaron back to the United States. They want to send him home. The U.S. isn't engaging in that, and we are here again 3 years later fighting for the U.S. to follow the Levinson Act, their own law, designate them correctly and bring them home. I'm extremely grateful they're still alive. I am grateful that the Venezuelans see value in them and want to bring them home. These are two combat veterans that are being held there. They served this country for 7 years. They deserve better than to be held hostage because of politics or protecting somebody's career. Like some other cases you've heard, it's complicated, and anybody wants to do an interview, I always joke I can give you the 5-minute version, I give you a 20-minute version, or we can talk for 3 or 4 hours. The bottom line is, you've got an unrecognized government, narco-terrorist, detaining Green Berets, and everybody else recognizes the legality of bringing them home, except for State Department, and there's some political entanglements there. So put politics aside and bring people home. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Melanie Berry. I'm here with my children, Claire and Brian. My husband, their father, Aaron Berry, has been wrongfully detained alongside Luke Denman in Venezuela for 3 years. That's 1,095 days that are filled with worry and fear for my husband's well-being, guilt for being able to enjoy things that he cannot, and sadness for him missing so many special moments in our lives, but also frustration with our government for its unwillingness to designate Aaron and Luke as wrongfully detained, even though they meet several criteria of the Levinson Act. But there are also days filled with hope that their ordeal will end and Aaron and Luke will come home to us. I am grateful to Diane Foley and the Foley Foundation and to Nikki Bergman and the Richardson Center for their support and commitment. I'm grateful to the press for covering our stories and for amplifying our voices. Grateful to be part of the Bring Our Families Home campaign, because being surrounded by all these wonderful people here, people that have come back, and the families that are still fighting for their loved ones to return home to them, is just so empowering and humbling at the same time.
President Biden, you have shown great courage bringing many of our families back. Many families back home to their loved ones. I'm asking you today to meet our families and to see everyone here. And to hear our stories, and to hear our stories firsthand, and to bring our loved ones back to us.
President Biden. President Biden, please bring my dad home. I miss him so much, and please bring him back.
We have two families in our campaign who are being wrongfully detained in Syria. One is Austin Tice, and the other is Madge Pamela Maz. Would you, the family, please come up and say a few words?
Good morning, everyone. This is a picture of my uncle Madge Pamela Maz, who has been detained in Syria by the Assad regime for the past 6 years. Actually, 6 years and 2 months. He dedicated his entire life to serve everyone in need. He went to Bosnia after the war. He went after the catastrophic tsunami to Indonesia to help those affected by that. And today we are here to ask President Biden and Vice President Harris to bring our families home. It's been far too long. And bring them home. Kindly, please utilize all your resources and maximize efforts to bring them home, because their families and their grandchildren and their wives and mothers and brothers and sisters are waiting for them. Our lives are held up because they are not with us. And so, please utilize all your resources to bring them home. And on behalf of the Camel Moss family, I'd like to thank the Bring Them Home campaign and the Foley Foundation for their tireless work working to bring them home. Thank you.
Okay, I want John Franks, by the way, and the spokesperson from Bring Our Families Home. I know the Rusesabagina family would like to say a few words. Oh, thank you. I know the Rusesabagina family would like to say a few words.
Thank you. And I would just want to say thank you to the Bring Our Family Home organization. Without them, I don't think we'll have done this. And just want to remind everybody that we're in this together. Our father is home, but we're still fighting. We're gonna keep fighting, and we'll come to DC every time one of us comes home as a family, become a family, and I keep fighting. Thanks again to everyone, John, to Mickey, to Spearheart, everyone else who's been fighting, and we're so grateful. And like I said again, we're in this together. We're gonna keep fighting. Thank you.
President Biden, please meet with all the families who are wrongfully detained abroad. Please meet with them and use all resources, every tool at your disposal to bring them home. These are Americans. They're held just because they're Americans, and you represent them. You stand for them. Please, President Biden, bring them home.
Okay, we're still waiting on our closing speaker who's going to walk in here at some point soon, but so I thought I'd say anybody from the media, anybody, any questions for us? Okay. And all right, so with no questions, John Foley, Diane Foley's husband, and Father Jim Foley will say some words.
Good afternoon. I am John Foley. I'm James Foley's father. He was beheaded in 2014 in Syria. We, for the past 9 years, have been attempting to help others bring their loved ones home. Listening to all of you reminds me of the pain that we suffered, continue to suffer for all of you, and the frustration that you all feel dealing with our government. Jim, Stephen Sotloff, and 2 other Americans were basically ignored. And in total, there were 6 deaths. 6. Death is hard, but in some way it is no harder than having loved ones who are held continuously, who could come home if there were a way. We could come home if we could get the right people to press the right button. Kidnapping is changing, When Jimmy was kidnapped, there were fewer state actors. Now there are many countries who are doing this. And unfortunately, it makes the issue more difficult to deal with. It puts more on the plate of our government. And I cannot tell you how frustrating it is to try to get the government to help us. And we need help. There's no way that we as individuals can do this ourselves. I am heartened by the fact that we have brought approximately 19 folks home this past year. This is a far cry from where we were in 2012 when Jimmy was captured, and in 2014 when he was killed, and when President Obama then set up the hostage fusion cell, and subsequent groups and have been formed to help. We are going to be tied together forever, all of us, because not one of us can make this work. All of us need to work together. All of us need to pressure our government, because yes, the government has the answer. We need to make sure that we never let up on the pressure while any American is left in captivity. We also wish to call on President Biden to make sure that he and his office calls each and every one of you. There are some questions in my mind whether the dual national citizens are not treated quite as fairly as Americans. They need, all families need to understand that they have the the government has their back. We are all citizens. And I think the other issue really is deterrence. This is a problem now, but unless we come up with significant, severe enough deterrence, it will continue. This is not a problem for today or tomorrow. It's a problem for us to bring our loved ones home. But then what happens? What about the next guy, the next woman? You know, we really have to have a much broader, more aggressive approach than we are demonstrating right now. And fortunately, my wife, Diane Foley, just came, and I would very much like to turn the microphone.
I'm so sorry for being late. I just want to thank you all for being here. It's love that brings us together, isn't it? It's this coming together is what's going to give us strength and unity. I think of Margaret Mead, who said, never doubt the power of a small group of committed, thoughtful citizens to make a difference. As a matter of fact, that's the only thing that ever has. I didn't say that's probably quite right, but this is this coming together because we care about loved ones who have been forgotten, far away from families, who feel abandoned, or families who feel that way about their loved ones, but also the media who's here, because you care also about the freedom of the truth and getting this to the American people so people know what's really happening. So I'm just so grateful to all of you, and I ask you to continue to stand with us together till we bring every single one of our Americans home. This is something we have to do step by step, but persevere. This is a movement that, thanks to the Bring Our Families Home campaign, we've begun to stand together to make this happen. And it is working. That is why we have a lot of people who've come home. Thank God for that. I just thank you all for that. And so all of you have been a part of that. And I'm so deeply grateful. But we've only just begun, because we have other people who desperately need your support. And so let us stand together. Let us stand together with hope and faith and heart and a big lot of love in our hearts, because that's what's going to get us through this. So God bless you for being here. Thank you so much.
So before we kind of close things out today, I'd encourage all of you to go on the perimeter of the complex. We have a digital billboard truck running around with sayings like, "POTUS, stop ignoring us, please meet with us." And as we close here today, we're all aware that statistically speaking, the government is right. Most hostages come home without a presidential meeting, right? I don't know that that's a thing to be bragging about, because they all should have had presidential meetings, but we can all do math, and it's not, it misses the point. These folks need to hear directly from their president, he's got their backs. And that can't be done in speeches to the correspondents or in bulk. It needs to be done individually. So we hope very much that they hear this message and that we don't have to, bring all these people again together to protest next year. But I really want to thank all of you in the media for coming. Thank the families. This is a very courageous display by you guys today. You're an inspiration to me every day. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
And if anybody has questions for families or whatever, please feel free to mill about, do your thing. We'll be looking for pictures real quick. Okay. Thanks again for coming. Yes, sir.
You want to get, let's see if I get a name list. You want to come? Oh, yeah.
Hold on, everybody. Hold on before you go. we're talking about having everybody move up here to the intersection, and then when the truck comes by the next time, have them stop, and we'll all stand on both sides of it and have the White House behind us.
Okay, that's great.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can just tell the media we're moving up there. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I didn't see you yesterday. I almost like June was there. I was like, I think I blacked out. Yeah, I was like, I was just like, yes, no, I was there. You see my dog? Yeah.